I want to bring in Rachel Fiset, attorney, and Misty Marris, an attorney as well, to talk about where the defense is going with this. An hour in, I would say Buster has remained very composed as he describes some pretty tragic moments in his life, to say the least. He had the funeral for his mom and brother on a Saturday, and the following day they gathered as a family for the funeral of his grandfather. Misty, I'm going to start with you. The defense's strategy here, where do you think this goes next?
Yeah, all of this direct examination of Buster is going to the defense themes. That specifically is that there could have been an alternative theory here, that there was another shooter, maybe two shooters. It all started with the beginning of Buster's testimony when they're talking about the guns on the property. The defense spent a long time talking to Buster about that shotgun and the fact that it was loaded with a buckshot and a birdshot. We know this is the gun that killed Paul. Buster testified he nor anyone else that he knew, presumably Alec Murdaugh, would load a gun that way. So again, out of character there for Alec Murdaugh to load a gun in that manner. Also, the other gun, the .300 blackout rifle that kills Maggie. He said that Paul often left his guns around on the property. So this is all speaking to the fact that there's accessibility to these guns. There's an alternative explanation for how these guns were involved. We also heard a lot of what I would call comparative data. What's in and out of character for Alex Murdaugh? Remember, the prosecution is saying that Alex Murdaugh is creating an alibi by making a flurry of call and text messages shortly after the murders occur. Well, Buster is now saying that this is the way the family communicated, that the family often texted and called back and forth, and a lot of times while they were driving. And lastly, we know that the prosecution has said that Alec Murdaugh did not act the way you would expect somebody to act when faced with this terribly traumatic situation. Buster now trying a testimony undercutting that argument that his father was devastated and destroyed. Defense will make the point that Buster knows his father best, so he's the one who's going to understand the way that his father would act in this type of situation. He'd be the best to identify that he's devastated and destroyed. So all of this going to the defense themes, alternative explanation for the murders. And lastly, he also said there was an opportunity for Alec Murdaugh to get rid of the evidence after the fact because they were together. So all of this to undercut the prosecution's case.
The other thing, Rachel, that the defense has done multiple times is paint a picture of a happy family that was going through some challenging moments with the boat accident and the civil and criminal lawsuits. But you see a weekend or two before the video of them at a birthday party at their beach place. Maggie made a birthday cake for Paul. They sing to him. They're hugging. They're laughing. They're on a boat together. How does the jury receive this information, this personal side of this family, knowing that 2 weeks later they are brutally murdered?
The defense is humanizing the family. Buster has been very even-tempered. He's talking about how his family normally did things in the course of events, that they had family gatherings, that they were an incredibly communicative family, that they spoke often. So they're establishing patterns of communication that not only would support Murdaugh's defense, but that would show a happy family, a family that wouldn't murder each other. That's basically the underlying tone in just establishing a baseline of how this family operated and how they had a lot of togetherness, and they were together often, and they celebrated together, and they talked. And this would not be a family that would have the father come in and kill the wife and brother. So I think that's a lot of what Buster is doing here. And the defense is taking him very slowly, very methodically through the night, which again doesn't really give us much evidence as to what actually happened. He certainly wasn't there, but he's just showing how the family operated and what everybody's role was within the family, including his dad's.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.